This is Dave with Taboo Customs. Today we're going to take a look at our standard hub and spindle kit that are often used to make tire carrier pivots for Jeeps and other vehicles. We'll take a look at the kit and we'll talk a little bit about how we sometimes use this kit in some of our custom bumper designs. We'll start with the parts with the spindle. The spindle is a 1,000-pound trailer spindle. It's an 1.25 inch in diameter, bar stock, about 8 1/4 inches tall. The area here is really the area that's meant to be welded. This area is the area where your seal will ride, and the rest of this is really where the bearings will be and of course our threaded area for our nut. The next piece is the hub. The hub will come with the bearing races installed. Now these bearing races are meant to be a slip fit. They will just fit in there if you perfectly line them up. This setup and design is not meant to be used in high speed, high heat applications, really meant to be used in lower speed applications like for tire carrier spindles and also for other areas like weld fixtures and things I've had our customers use them for. Now the hub is 2.25 inches in 2.5 inches in diameter, 4 inches tall, and has a 3/8 inch wall thickness for that wall. And the reason for that is so that you have enough wall thickness to get really heavy welds along here. So because I mean this is a joint that's going to carry a lot of weight, and we need that wall thickness to make sure that we don't warp the areas where the bearing races are riding. Now when you go to install these or put these together, the bearing will actually go in, and then you'll need to put your seal in there. We won't do it here, but you'll put your seal in there, and that's what will go down first, so your seal will ride in this area. Now we do recommend packing your bearings with grease before putting them together, and then be sure to put a little grease around the seal so as you put it down there you don't tear up the seal. So put this together. The other tapered roller bearing, and we use tapered roller bearings to ensure that it always rolls freely. We get the heavy washer, then our castle nut. And typically you'll want to tighten this up to where you can feel some tension on it. You want to preload those bearings. You don't want it to be loose to where it can go up and down, but then again you don't want it to be so tight to where you can't turn it. You do though want to have some preload, some pressure on it. So once you have the preload set and you have it aligned, you can put in your cotter pin, and also remember to put in your grease zerk. This is a self-tapping grease zerk that you'll put in here in the side so you can continue to add grease to it during its life. Then after that you can add your top cap. Now for these caps, they can be a little bit tricky. One thing we like to do is we'll use some 2-inch exhaust pipe or something else that just barely fits over the top of that so that we can tap those down in there, because you can put them in by tapping the top, but more than likely if you hit the top with a hammer you're going to dent that in. So next is installing the spindle into the bumper or whatever you're installing these spindles into. Now obviously it'd be nice if you can take and put this spindle all the way through whatever material you're going to be installing it in and welding it both in the bottom and the top. But however, I know when you're building bumpers you're probably not going to be using a tube that is that thin as far as the height of the tube. A lot of times we're going to be using something like a 4x2 tube, or even in this case here this is a 5x2 tube. Now in cases like this, what you'll be able to do is you can get some tube which is an 1.5 inch outer diameter with an 1/8 inch wall. So that means the inside of this should roughly be 1.25 inches. Now this is a hot rolled electric welded tube, so it has a seam inside. So some of those tubes you might have a little bit trouble, but most of them I've found that the spindle will slide down into fairly well, and it will be tight in there. Now if you're doing, let's say, a 4-inch tube, this area here is about 3.5 inches. So you're only going to have a 1/2 inch of this, 1.5 inch tube hanging down. So one thing you can do then is you can weld on the inside of this tube to the bottom and then weld to the top. However, if you're doing something like this where it's a little bit taller than a 4-inch tube, what I would recommend is going in, drilling some holes in this tube here, and then plug welding this outer tube to the inner spindle, and then you can weld that whole assembly into whatever you're putting it into. Now another option that you have that we've used in the past is, let's say you're building a bumper and you've got a design like this. It's not a tube, it's a 90-degree bend in some sort of plate. What we have done in the past here is we've cut out our 1.25 inches out of the top, and then we would go down and we would cut a slot here in the back. Then when we install this, we would basically be back up against that slot. So the reason for this is now we can solid weld around the top piece of this spindle, and then we can solid weld down this back, which really ties it into the back and is not going to let it flex a lot. However, if you do use this design, make sure you add enough gusseting to other areas of whatever you're building, because let's say we did add this to this plate here. If I had this tire carrier on this and I grabbed the end of it, I would be able to flex that in and out. So make sure that you tie that into the rest of your bumper. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped out with the installation of your kit, or if you were looking to see what our kits cover, this helped you to show what the kit does actually contain and what areas of the Jeep it does cover. If you are looking to purchase a kit, you can visit taboocustoms.com. We'll have our kits available there. Or if you have a question or comment or concern with your kit, please go there and click the contact us button and send us an email, and we'll get right back to you. So thanks for watching, and as always, like or subscribe.